So there have been some things that have come up on the ACE thesis that I thought I should address, and typically I was going to try and wait for Saturday in order to do the live stream, but that was going to be for the live question and answer one that I was going to do. This one's a little different. So in this one, I'm going to be talking about one of the two things that kind of came up in the chats before Saturday. And this one is about characters dying. How to deal with character death and the drama that comes with that, and what it all means, and why characters dying is very, very much a kind of likable thing when it comes to role-playing. Characters dying is not, typically, character deaths are done for a number of ways. One of the prime reasons why character deaths are done is because the character is no longer seen as desirable to roleplay. And with that in mind, it must be understood that when characters are killed off because there's no longer a desire to roleplay, that is purely on the conscience and the decision of the person who owns the character, rather than the people around them, whether they think that it's necessary or desirable or not. Even if a character is very much involved in other people's lives, in the lives of other characters, might even be very prominent in a plot at the time, the decision to kill off a character should not be seen as a halt to all plans and a halt to all plots. Rather, it should be seen as an opportunity for more drama to involve. For example, if a character is killed off mid-plot, that what happens then is that, okay, well, obviously the people's plans they had are now put on, not necessarily on hold per se, but now have to kind of change course because now that person's no longer there, so now they have to kind of deal with the aftermath of that, and also reworking their plans to now incorporate the fact that they're missing somebody. And then the whole concept that everything must be approved by everyone else when it comes to someone's decisions for their individual characters, because they might have some kind of stakes with the character that is going to be killed off, or whether they think that, well, that character being killed off affects me because I like the character, or I had plans with the character, or my characters are very much involved with that character, etc., etc. The reason why, and none of that matters, really. It matters to the individual role-playing the character whether or not they want to kill him off. That is purely up to the role player, because it's, first of all, it's their character. They ultimately get to decide what happens, with the exception of things like power playing and god modding. And then, of course, the role player may decide that the character's story is over. And if they decide that the character's story is over, where they've done and said their piece, it's done now, and they decide, I want this character to die, that, again, is purely their decision because it's their character. But that's also supposed to be taken not in a negative form personally, again. Because the role player has decided that I have done what this character needed to do. Yes, there's the potential, obviously, to create more story, but is that where the character needs to actually go? Because no character death should be taken lightly. Obviously, and that's kind of why I have it separated, where you're allowed to have TBK characters as well as your own characters, and the reason for TBK characters is because you are allowed to take those lightly if they die, because those were not meant to be characters that are supposed to get emotionally or dramatically involved with anybody on a deeper level that might cause more backlash if they should die. So that's why I had TBK characters created. So an actual character, like a long-standing character, like if I decided Marius was going to die, for example, Marius Nightingale, it's like, well, I mean, consider the implications of that. Well, he's the godfather. The heir is only, 7 years old? And so it would be the mother acting as queen regent until the heir is ready. And then, of course, there's a whole shebang, or maybe he's not the best example, because he hasn't really gotten involved, but, let's say Loki Norcross, for example. Let's say Donnie is like, you know what, Loki is at the end of his story, and the story is going to end sad, where Loki's story is over. He's not going to find his son. He's not going to get to see the Norcross really he's not really going to be able to see the Norcross become stronger. He's not going to be able to guide them through life. But his story is done then, because he has played his role, and now it is up to the rest of the characters in order to pick up the pieces and fill in the hole that he has left behind. And that is not a decision to be made lightly. It never should be. And as a site owner, I do kind of take some level of control with that by being, again, it shouldn't be taken lightly, because that is a character that is very, very much involved with people and their stories and plot lines, as well as just the general ability of the site continuing. So those aren't taken lightly, and never should be. And it's not because people like the character, are fans of the character, or are terribly involved with it. Even, like I was saying in the original one, Marius Nightingale, if I decided that it was his time to die, his story was over, again, that's not going to be taken, that wouldn't be a decision taken lightly, even though there aren't really any fans of Marius, and there's nobody that would really, really be affected by his death, because he's been kind of background this whole time. And he hasn't really been influential in a lot of things, which, yeah, my fault because of my neglect in roleplay, but also just the general way that things have gone. But again, I still wouldn't take that lightly, because there is a lot involved with his death, and he is an actual character where there's a lot of stuff that will come into play. So, the decision now, it's not taken lightly. It's not done to tick people off. It's not done because, I hate so-and-so, so I'm gonna kill off my beloved character just to tick off so-and-so because I don't like him or I hate him, or I just think it'd be funny. I did some of that in the past, I know, but I've grown up. For the most part, there's still the occasional, gee, it'd be hilarious if Uriel died for the 5th time, but I think we're all pretty much yeah, he's never actually gonna stay dead, but again, still, it's something that the rest of you guys will just have to accept, and it can be hard because, again, if Donnie was hey, I'm gonna kill off Loki, I would be really sad about it, because I'd be oh, well, I guess now Ty is never gonna be reunited with his father, and, I'd be sad because it's wow, his bodyguard CL, is really, really cares about him, and I'm sure there's, plenty of people out there who have roleplayed enough with Loki to be wow, that would really suck if he died, but we would still have to move on from that. There is a sort of grieving process that comes with it, I suppose, where, it's oh wow, he died, it's really sad, it sucks, because he was so much fun. But it's kind of like a book character dying. When you read a book and it's out and you're reading it and, your character dies, spoiler alert, the one guy from Harry Potter that died. I'm not going to name names because whatever, but you know who I'm talking about. The one guy from Harry Potter died, and that was extremely depressing. Okay, fine, there were there were a bunch of guys that died in Harry Potter, but pick one. It was extremely depressing. It was oh gosh, why did he have to die? Oh my goodness. But we all had to accept it, because I mean, it's like, it's over and done with, it's been decided, just move on now. Like, you can't just like poof, he's back from the dead. Even though Aesthesis like has all these fancy schmancy people, I still am not a fan of the whole, oh well, he's not really dead, we're just gonna resurrect him or reincarnate him, because that's very much god modding BS that I don't approve of. That's destroyed a crap ton of sites and a crap ton of TV shows, books, etc. So I mean, we all moved on from it, and honestly, if like the books continued to be written after that, like if there were still years at Hogwarts or whatever for the people to attend that J.K. Rowling would have written about, it would be like, okay, and now we see how so and so is affected by that person's death and how they learn from it. Like Harry Potter, you know, when Sirius died, you know, that was a very, very difficult time for Harry, because it was the first time anyone he actually knew as a father was dead, and it was literally like his dad died, and you know, to save him and stuff, and you know, that was a really hard blow. But now look at how that affected Harry and how he grew from that, and how that affected the people around him and the way they treated him and acted around him, and how Harry acted around other people, and how he got through the process and was able to become a better person and grow and get stronger because of, you know, the things that Sirius had taught him in life, and the way, and the things that had happened when Sirius died and all this kind of stuff. And so never think that a character dying is something where it's like an end-all. Harry Potter didn't stop and decide to give up on life and like run away to Ireland and be a Sherpa because like Sirius was dead. No, he learned and grew from it, and that just added a whole lot more to the plot, to him as a character. It also created more room for drama and things to happen because of this gap that was, you know, not being filled. And that's how it is in any role play as well. Even in like LARPing that I've done, that's how it's been, where you know, characters died. My own character called down an assassination on her one leader, and the way that has affected things since then, and her as well, has been very interesting, where it's like, yeah, this character's dead, this character's gone, because of, you know, of course it was because of like my character's actions, but again, it's like that person's gone and dead forever, and the way that has affected things, and the way people act, and the way my character acts, and the way my character looks at things and thinks of things. It's never an end-all when a character dies. It's always a chance to grow, and a chance to develop, and a chance to move things along and see how everything blossoms from that. And then the other thing I was going to say was, was there another thing? I apologize, I'm quite tired. Yeah, so again, like actual character deaths are not taken lightly. They're not taken as affronts to anybody. They should not be taken so personally that you take it as like, oh, this because so-and-so is doing this specifically to hurt me. It should not be seen as an end-all where, oh, I can't advance, or I must now scrap everything. It should be seen as an opportunity for growth and development and things of that nature, as I had just been explaining. So that's the end of this particular live stream, which again I saw that I'm going to be showing you guys, and I really hope you focus on a lot of the things that were said. I will try to come back at a later time, redoing this one with a bit more in-depth information involved and things once I'm able to create something to gather my thoughts more. But this was something that had popped up in the chats that I thought was really important, that that needed to be said, especially before I do a Q&A and it just gets lost in another hour-long live stream. I thought I should do a special. Alright, so I'm going to sign off for now. I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me at any time, as well as be sure to prepare your questions for Saturday when I'm going to be doing another live stream, Q&A live stream. Alright, so Have a good night, guys. Bye.